Hey, good afternoon, everyone. Welcome to Banner and Backbone. I'm Nick Perro, joined by my two friends and colleagues, Stephen Atchison, El Duderino over there. Hey, Steve, how are you doing today, man?
Good, good. Thanks for having me.
Glad you could join us. And our friend Tara Devlin, Tara Buster and Political Voices Network. Tara, how's it going?
Hello, it's going. Still here in the fight.
Good, good. We got to be all in. Hey, we're all in the fight. That's a good thing.
That's right.
Um, and good morning, everyone, or good afternoon, everyone. Good time of day whenever you're watching this in the chat. It's good to have you here with us. It's Banner and Backbone. I'm Nick Perro, and this is the Anti Fascist Book Club. We are back for our fourth discussion into Christopher Matthias's To Catch Fascist. We're somewhere in the middle of the book, part two ish. I don't really, we're not
Hmm.
really tracking
We
explicitly at the
should
moment.
we should probably, see
We
where.
should probably do that again, like we did with the last book.
Yeah.
Where, oh,
Uh
sorry,
oh.
the
Oh.
dog bells are going off. The kids are all home, so we may hear dogs and children in the background, but that's normal for us around here. Um,
It's all good.
but we're somewhere in the middle of the book right now for To Catch Fascist. And we're here with the Anti Fascist Book Club. Over on the right side of the screen, way over Stephen's head, is a QR code for VFF AFBC Guide, which is the Veterans Fighting Fascism Anti Fascist Book Club Guide. And that will get you all the information on how to start your own anti fascist book club. We highly recommend it. In fact, one of the reasons we do this show is so that people can have the knowledge and are armed with the information they need to start their own book clubs and to participate locally and to create their own anti-fascist movements because fascism here is here and the only way through it
It is.
and the only way out is through. So we can't go back, so we got to get through it. So we need to all be anti-fascists together. And
Mm.
so what this book club is, it's a learning resource. It's here so that we can all learn about what anti-fascism really is, also what fascism is, and then how we fight back and go on offense and how we put real pressure on fascists and real consequences on fascists so that we can stop them. What it is not a radicalization tool. You should already be radicalized because fascism is here and fuck that. Um, and so let's confront fascism now and learn about it. And we're going to do that through To Catch Fascist, which Chris Goldsmith has said is the book he wishes he could have either written or had years ago because it defines really well a lot of what's going on and how we should be fighting it and going on offense against it. So, Stephen, Tara, I'll hand it over to you right now to see any real key things that you guys want to point out for like quotes or chapter parts that you found really important and powerful. And we can start building our discussion
Yeah.
on that.
I was just looking up what chapter I was on. I'm gonna be famous boys. I think it's called something like that.
Mm.
And where Victor is he reveals himself as the infiltrator, and of course this puts the Patriot Front group into a panic, and I don't want to give it away actually the whole thing, but and then they start doxing these people, and these
Mm-hmm.
people, there are real life consequences for these fascists who are anonymous to each other too. That's the other thing about this group. They all go by pseudonyms, and they are very cautious about that because there are, I mean, we still live in a society where that has consequences, even though they're relaxing. Because one of the things that struck me too, there was this in this book, the horrible story about the pregnant woman who was lynched.
Oh, God, yeah.
Yeah, and how they were trying to put up um, memorials to her. And this is the current day, and they gave up finally because these memorials kept being vandalized and shot at, or taken down completely. and that in itself says where we are as a society.
Sure.
And I mean, that's I don't. It's just I didn't know about that story, on my own, and it's horrific. And but these are the ghosts of the past are not that past. We are not evolved out of that time yet. And so this is what the book is pointing out, that we that the in many ways the fascists, when they were going under the KKK hoods for a while, because they also, back when the KKK was started, there were some repercussions to being an open member of a hate group. And but now they said that they don't. What struck me in the book was a quote about how the hoods are off now because they're in the halls of power. These people that they're, they don't that the KKK is having a hard time recruiting because there's no need for them because they've been so successful in policy and in power that
Yeah.
yeah, they're not attracting the same numbers, because what's the point? We're in the White House, we're in Congress, we're writing laws that are targeting the groups that that these hate groups are formed to target. So that's what struck me, really, that we have a lot of work to do. And I do think that that we are backsliding, of course. And in fact, what's I was going to talk about this tonight on my show at 8:30 on the Tara Buster YouTube channel, and so come and join us. But the United States has been downgraded in democracy, the democracy index, as far as press freedom. The U.S. has been downgraded for the first time in generations. So we have to, this is what we're dealing with. We're in the middle of a coup. Let's not kid ourselves. We have our work cut out for us.
Yeah. No, I don't disagree that we're in the middle of a coup.
No,
Stephen,
totally, totally.
what are
I
your
know
thoughts?
that's what we're
I'm
doing
gonna
here.
I'm gonna pull up real quick while Stephen, while you gather your thoughts here, real quick. I'm gonna read the quote around the individual who Tara was talking about from the book. So if you have your own copy of the book in the hard copy version, it's on page 91, and it's about Mary Turner. So preface, this is graphic, this is about violence, this is about a lynching. So if you don't want to listen in, turn your volume down for about 30-45 seconds here, and then I'll give a thumbs up when I'm done reading the quote and when we get back to talking it. Just a quick disclaimer. At the time she was lynched, Mary Turner was in her 8th month of pregnancy. The delicate state of her health 1 month or less previous to delivery may be imagined, but this fact had no effect on the tender feelings of the mob. Her ankles were tied together and she was hung to the tree, head downward. Gasoline and oil from the automobiles were thrown on her clothing, and while she wriggled in agony and the mob howled in glee, a match was applied and her clothes burned from her person. When this had been done, and while she was yet alive, a knife, evidently one such as is used in splitting hogs, was taken, and the woman's abdomen was cut open, the unborn baby falling from her womb to the ground. The infant, prematurely born, gave 2 feeble cries, and then its head was crushed by a member of the mob with his heel. Hundreds of bullets were then fired into the body of the woman, now mercifully dead, and the work was over.
Disgusting, right?
That's one, like, they're still fighting to get, like, in 2020, the Mary Turner Project announced the marker's removal. Like,
Right.
we're
Because
backsliding
yeah.
so badly. Like, we need to stop. There was an interesting point, Stephen, your thoughts on this. There's an interesting point, and the idea of red came up. Is one of the organizations was called Red Shirts. And I want your thoughts on like maybe the symbolism that we have red hats and red hoods and red shirts, and why they keep coming back to this, and any of your thoughts on where we're at on some of this discussion. Okay, thumbs up. We have read the quote, so you can come back. Stephen?
Well, I guess something in the comments section is kind of amusing me. Sort of took my mind a little bit in a different direction. A guy named Jim down there is talking about having heirloom trees in his yard, and it's captivating the farmer in me. And so I just wanted to acknowledge that little side conversation going on there. Heirloom trees are awesome. I have a lot of them as well in my front yard, and so anyway, sorry. Yeah, I like the little quote before on the page before that on 90 from the one who was doing the reporting on this with Walter White, I think his name was, which is odd. Walter White. I wonder if that has any connection to the show Breaking Bad. But
Yeah, I wonder. I read that and I thought that too a little bit.
yeah, I actually had a cat named Walter Whitepaws for a time.
Oh, that's so cute.
Yeah, our other cat is Frank from Shameless. I don't know if you're familiar with that character.
I know that show too. One of our dogs is named Kilo because he was white when he was a puppy.
Oh.
He was about the size of a kilo of cocaine, so we called him Kilo.
The quote on the page before in 90 just really like talks about how he spoke with somebody who was there to witness it, and how they said, the best show, mister, I ever did see. You ought to have heard the wrench howl when we strung her up. And then he talks about how he did the best he could to cover his nausea just by hearing the story, not even having been there. And that's sort of where I was at reading, the more graphic depiction on page 91, is just how nauseating that can make you. I mean, I remember some scenes from my deployment that were, pretty nauseating, that stick with me, smells, sounds, that kind of thing. And I can only imagine, I can't imagine, I should say, what was going through their mind, both watching and reporting on this, and just how traumatic of a time that was for our history as a nation, and how we really have never reconciled that. We've never fully, acknowledged that these things happen, and I talk with some of my, I don't want to say, like, just less educated friends on these topics, and speak about reparations and what that could mean, and it just is like they don't have any context for that, and how much damage this nation has caused to people through fascism and through the KKK, and all these things that just see a resurgence every so many years. We just see another resurgence of these kind of movements. And to me, when you talk about red hats and red shirts, like, that's just the next iteration of that same mindset and this white superiority complex that some people have. So it's just where my mind went at reading through those.
Yes. And, this whole anti-DEI agenda it doesn't outright say, oh, we support lynching or whatnot. They wouldn't publicly do that now. But it does align with a long tradition of attacking any effort to remedy the kind of racism that produced Mary Turner's murder. And while it gives political cover, right, to to the resentment of civil rights progress, really. So that's what we're witnessing now. Anything that has anything to do with someone who's different, and what's the American experience? There are so many. There's such a variation of the American experience, and being a white, rich, male right winger is not the only one that needs to be honored. Black people, immigrants, we all have different American experiences, and they all need to be honored and recognized and embraced. That's what it feels to me. That's what it means to be a patriot, is to recognize that and to want to make a more perfect union. Because that's how you do it. You do it because you don't do it by denying what we are at our essence, which is what Republicans do. We are a nation of immigrants. They hate that, clearly. They all want us to be from, I guess, Norway. That's an acceptable place to be from, or Ireland? I'm
Without
Maybe.
realizing the Nordic model is like democratic socialism, and
yeah, right. Except for all the freedom and happiness that they have,
right.
right?
Yeah, the DEI conversation is always an interesting one, and it's like, well, okay, you just don't want that form of DEI, but like you
Yeah.
want this neo DEI that we're seeing now, where like we're putting in the least qualified people
Yes.
into these highest positions in the administration just because they're willing to do
Yeah.
whatever Trump tells them to do.
Yep.
And I think like that's its own form of DEI, but
Yes, it
toxic
is.
DEI. You know?
Yep, yep. I mean, forget a meritocracy. I mean, that's the whole thing. There is just like you're saying, you only have to have one qualification, and that's complete loyalty to the con man squatting in the White House, who is also unfit and hates America. They really are, the domestic enemies the founders warned us about, in my opinion. It's destroying the country from within, and not just literally. They're literally destroying the system of government. That's what they're trying to do with this Save Act and all that. Trying to but on top of it, they poison people's minds. They poison our our diversity. They poison our unity. With a country that's unified will never fall to a fascist demagogue. So,
No.
you see, they need it.
Yeah.
Hmm.
They need a bad guy. They need some demagogue to run over the top
That's
of it.
right.
And it's you alluded to it earlier, and I want to read about the Triceratops is out in the kitchen, buddy. I've got I've got kids home again. It's
It's all
spring
good.
break, and we've got the nephew over as usual. So nothing different for anyone who's been following all week. Hey everyone, it's Nick, the stay-at-home dad, doing stay-at-home dad things while he's
It's
podcasting.
good. It's good.
No, I mean I'm not apologizing because I don't apologize for things that are you don't have to apologize for. I
Hmm.
stopped doing that. And people seem to enjoy having the kids in the background because it makes it so that remember that we're human too.
Yeah, and
Um,
this is what we're fighting for. We want them to have a better country, really, than they're getting right now.
yeah, yeah. I
I'm
want my
good.
kids to have something better than what I've got. Um,
Yeah. I mean, I made
and
a post last night. I came home from a trivia fundraiser last night for our local community, trying to raise money for some playground equipment for our park in our neighboring town. And I came home and had a conversation with my wife, uh, just about how we're accelerating all of these
Mm,
terrible things around the world with these attacks on refineries and oil
yep,
fields, and how it's just gonna reverberate through society for years to come, and
yep,
it's just gonna make life harder for everyday working people. um, and I made a post on my Facebook, just sort of a not defeatist in any way, but just how it's like, look, dissenting from this is patriotic.
yep,
And to the people that just want to tell you, like, if you don't love it, leave it. It's like, no, I love this country. I love these people that I live around. And, wanting something better than what we have, wanting to have leaders better than the
oh
pile of
yeah,
shits that we have is not unpatriotic. Like I signed up to defend this constitution at one point, and I still hold true to that oath. And I think the people that just they make it so black and white. Um, I don't know. I think they just need to read more.
I've said
They
this
yeah,
need to
before.
start reading more.
I said this before, and I said it to Chris because I know he was a libertarian beforehand. Um, was libertarians are just progressives who haven't read enough books, and
Yeah.
I stand firm on that fact. Like most libertarians have very similar views to what I want for individual freedom, but also representative rights. The difference is I believe in taxes and their utility, whereas libertarians tend to not. I think taxes have a really good utility because they create the services that fuel our ability to have individual freedoms.
Yeah.
Right.
The only difference is I've read books.
Right.
I've read books, so I understand how economics works. Like, I know basic math. I know that these things, what they're arguing for, don't work on a national level.
It doesn't. It's never worked. That's why when people talk about libertarianism, it's very, to me, it's very juvenile, and it's the ideology. It's like you're saying, people who haven't read enough books, they're not exposed enough. They hear this. I guess it sounds very manly. It's a lot. It's usually men who are like, oh, libertarianism, because they don't want to pay their fair share of the price of admission into a civilized society. That's what taxes are. You know, ideally we pay taxes so we can get some services out of it, because we are an interdependent and interconnected species. You know, you don't like that, fuck off to the woods, you know, like the Unabomber, go live in the fucking woods. Okay. But
they definitely praise folks like the Unabomber, and
right.
It's fucking weird what they do.
Yeah, but I
remember.
Ahead,
sorry, I remember Libertarian Chris.
Oh, really?
Tell us about Libertarian Chris.
Yeah, I remember.
I'd love to hear this.
Oh, that's funny.
And he was a Ron Paul, you know.
Oh my
at the
God.
time for a while. Yeah, it was it's funny. You know, we all go through our phases. But I have a couple of, you know, friends that identify as libertarian, and I always ask them, like, have you ever tried to privately crowdsource to rebuild your road?
Yeah.
You know, have you ever done that? Like, how hard is that to do? And you know, there's no answer for it. And I got one buddy on my social media who's kind of a troll, who wanted to have a contest about the books we were reading. And I said, all right, you know, post your books. And while it was all Jordan Peterson self-help books on audio in his collection, and I was like, yeah, that tracks. That makes sense.
Oh boy. Yeah, because they have tried. There have been rich ideologues of libertarianism that have tried to inflict that mania on, for example, Sears. The company Sears was destroyed by libertarianism. The guy who, let me look the guy's name up. He was a libertarian, and he's like, oh well, I'm going to manage my my company in my libertarian ideals. And you know, he destroyed it in like 2 years. It went bankrupt because he set every department against each other. All the managers were like in competition.
I remember when Sears went under.
Yeah, that was because of Eddie Lampert. That's his name. Sears went from being the dominant national retailer, shaping how Americans shopped through catalogs and all that, and they could have kept pace with the changing world, but instead of investing in stores and innovation, he leaned into cost cutting, stripping everybody of their budgets, you know, like what they're doing to the United States right now too. But it was because he's a libertarian, and what does he give a shit? Because he's rich anyway. He was a rich trust funded brat anyway. So no matter what, people's jobs, you know, their livelihoods wrecked, it won't matter to him because he'll be fine no matter what. But he was you know, he used libertarian philosophy and it destroyed Sears. And there's another town, it's called Liberland. Let me see, I wonder what happened to Liberland, where all these libertarians created their own little they created their own country where you could go live and not pay taxes and shit like that. But let's see what happens.
And all of this also has fueled a lot of the oh shit, sorry, I forgot their name. The sovereign citizens.
Oh yes,
this has fueled the sovereign citizenship movement, where they don't believe that they fall under our laws and they're not citizens, yet they still vote and they
drive our roads,
participate in our system. They just don't want to pay taxes on anything.
Right.
And so they're like, man, I'm a sovereign citizen. A lot of that also is in the Maha movement and those hyper individualistic circles. I also want to read two from the book in pages 98 and 99. um, where they're discussing the Buffalo Klan incident in the early 1925 time period, 1920s. Um, and the quote from historian Linda Gordon arguing that the Klan was also in decline because it had in many ways triumphed
Yes.
and its ideology everywhere was becoming codified into law. And that never went away. We thought, oh, we've made it so that people believe that that type of thing doesn't exist, but it's all codified into our laws at this point,
Right.
and like the
Yep.
eugenic style systems are codified into our laws, and we have to break down that structure. And so, reading from the book, Gordon also argues that perhaps the Klan's biggest victory was shifting what we often refer to today as the Overton window, the spectrum of ideas considered acceptable among the general public. Quote, the biggest Klan victory was equally consequential but less tangible. It influenced public conversation, the universe of tolerable discourse. Sorry, the universe of tolerable discourse. It increased the intensity and spread of bigoted speech and occasionally action. True, the Klan did not invent bigotry. Sometimes ebbing, sometimes flowing, white racism had appeared as soon as Europeans arrived on this continent. But the Klan spread, strengthened, and radicalized pre existing nativist and racist sentiments among the white population. And they did that through law. And they did that by changing the way we talk about and like their names, and like they shift and move, and that goes next into like one of the later chapters discussing about how you have to be really correct to be an anti-fascist journalist. Like you have to dot all your I's, cross all the T's,
Mm.
squiggle all the F's, like make sure everything looks perfect, because if you get one thing wrong,
Mm.
you out somebody who's not a fascist, and that's a problem.
Right.
And like Stephen, can you talk maybe about some of the experiences you know about from your like closeness with Chris, from your own personal activities, if you're willing to share any? Like how does this like go down in real life? How has this gone down for you in real life in these types of actions, and what you wish others had known about, like before we had gotten to this point?
Well, I think just a comment on the quotes that you just read through. I remember when I was reading this, I'm through the whole book already, so
Oh,
I'm
okay.
having to go back and like refresh a little bit. But I remember specifically reading this page and thinking of that Rage Against the Machine song, where the lyric is, you know, some of those who burn crosses are the same that hold office. And it's
Mm-hmm.
like that's what came to my mind right away when I was reading this specific one about how, yeah, they've infiltrated our government and they're passing laws, and once you pass the law, like, we are a nation of laws, right? That's what we're supposed to
Mm.
be founded on. So you
Mm-hmm.
know, that's that. And how long does it take to get rid of those laws? um and I
Yep.
think that's where, I don't know, I as far as boots on the ground, as far as my own experience, you know, confronting fascism, I don't really have like the deep organizational experience of someone like Chris, because like I said, you know, after we parted ways, you know, getting out of the military, you know, he went and did his thing, and I was out here in the Midwest, kind of trying to get my education and farm going, and I guess I addressed those more in a community way. You know, just trying to provide a space for returning veterans to feel like they weren't so alone and at home, and I guess I do remember a couple times. We were raising poultry on our farm, and I would go to a local coffee roaster, and I would pick up the old coffee chaff that they would have after, or chaff after, from the roasting process, and it was right next to a Planned Parenthood in Madison. And every time I would go there, a bunch of these idiots from the Westboro Baptist Church would be there, literally like dressed up like knights, holding
Yeah.
like cardboard shields and cardboard swords, and like harassing women
Oh
as they were
God.
walking into Planned Parenthood, just like trying to get healthcare services. So
Yeah.
I have, I had, and I still have this black Toyota Tundra, you know, full size truck, farmer truck with wood panel sides. Like, yeah, I'm kind of a hick. If you don't know me, I come across as a little bit of a hick. And I would drive that truck right up on the median between these protesters and the Planned Parenthood, on my lunch break just to like waste their time, just
Good.
waste their time. And I know that Chris talks about that a lot. Like, one easy way that we can all fight these fascists is just waste their fucking time, so that they're not, they don't have the
Right.
time to go do other terrible shit. So, and I've had other confrontations with the Westboro Baptist Church when I was in college. They were coming to boycott a play at a local high school about Matthew, the guy that
Matthew
was,
Shepard.
yeah,
Yeah.
Matthew Shepard. Thank you. So, we showed up there to kind of counter protest them. So yeah, it's just, what can we do to waste their time so that they don't have the time
Right.
to spend on doing other terrible shit.
But it also sends the message that we won't tolerate your bullshit here,
Yeah.
too. That you can't
Right.
just go around spreading your hate without any kind of challenge from decent people in this town. And that
Right.
if they were met with complete silence, silence is complicity, really, and it's enabling. Real, and I know it's hard for people to stand up, but I'm of the belief that you can't let any of this go unchallenged. Any lie, any thing like that, like you're
Yeah.
talking about.
I'll be your Huckleberry.
Exactly.
And it is worth continuing to like call this shit out like every
Yes.
single time we see it. It is absolutely worth like the unmasking efforts. I still think we're to the point where unmasking will work. Because all of these folks are wearing masks still, and these local efforts to like just be human change the conversation a lot. So like if you're in your community and people know who you are and they see you just as a normal human, and they can also say, oh, this is what an anti-fascist looks like.
Yes.
They
right.
take that as a good thing. Like they want to see people do it. But also like I'm looking in the YouTube comments. There's a whole thing going on about the Alberta separation from Canada and like unit, like freedom there. And I'm like, that's such a trap for Canada, is like to try and disintegrate themselves. What a stupid idea that would be. That's such a play for weakening the strength and unity of that nation. Like that's just a play. That's so that MAGA can spread its influence. It's this Overton window shifting of like, oh, Alberta would be better as part of the US, or Donald Trump is consistently saying things like, oh, Mark Carney is the governor of the 51st state, or whoever the president of Cuba, like the president of Cuba is actually the governor of the 52nd state, or some stupid shit, or Venezuela. Like the more they say this, the more it becomes real. It's this big lie effect of you lie enough and that lie becomes reality. That's what Donald Trump, that's what fascism is. Like that's what these facsimiles are. Like, they take the worst and then they subtly shift pieces of it and then change their names so that it sounds less threatening. It's broader, but because it's part of either the legal landscape of the country where it's codified in the law, where police officers can do certain things, or ICE can do things, or slave patrols can do things, or things like that. If it's codified in the law, people just go, well, it's legal, I can do it. Just because it's legal doesn't mean it's right. And we found that out in the Nazi regime. Like, we can't use that excuse. Just because it's a legal action does not mean it's a morally right or ethically right action. And like them consistently putting these things out, it's how we got to Maha and RFK Jr. with his fucking brainworm killing people. Or Elon Musk and Peter Thiel and others who believe in eugenics. The Curtis Yarvin philosophies of the world is the eugenics. We're doing this on a global scale. And eugenics was part of the KKK philosophy because they want a pure white society, and the only way you get there is through a eugenics movement to kill everybody who's not white and who's not pure in your eyes. And they've globalized it. We're waging a global war of eugenics right now. What's happening in Iran is a manifestation of the KKK's platform on a global scale, because the Strait of Hormuz is where a ton of fertilizer comes from for the world. Farmers are going to get fucked.
Yeah, that's
Meat, the meat industry in the US is about to get slammed. Prices of meat are going to go skyrocketing. Stephen, you can probably talk about this on like how these types of downstream effects happen and what that looks like. This is a global war of eugenics that we're and terror that we are waging, and it's going to have really strong impacts on communities. So, Stephen, what from your experiences, what do you see as a way we can actionably do something about it, either in our local spheres, like parallel systems, or just what have you seen help to garner community trust and building to fight this?
Yeah, well, I used to be a lot more heavily involved in my local farmers union than I am now that I'm not actively farming. But when I was, um, we that right around that time was when they passed all the getting rid of country of origin labeling, or cool they call it, country of origin labeling. And that rippled forward to that moment when Trump was like, oh, well, we're just gonna import all this beef from Argentina, and no one's even gonna fucking know, because as soon as it gets to the United States and gets repacked, then it becomes a product of the United States.
right.
And it's funny because like some of the larger farmer advocacy, I call it farmer in big quotations because really they're agribusiness advocacy groups, like the Farm Bureau, for instance. They were like spearheading this shit, or at least not actively standing up against this kind of legislation. And now we're seeing it ripple to where we're having all kinds of shortage and increased prices of American beef. But now you can't even tell the difference on the shelf, right? You can't even tell what's actually from the United States and what's not. So how do we fight that? Well, first of all, we got to try to change that law. And I think that a lot of the people who used to either not even know about it or not think it was a big deal are really starting to see how much it's affecting their bottom line. And the other way is just to continue to try to shop as locally as possible. I mean, I get people reaching out to me all the time asking, hey, do you know a farmer that I can just like buy directly from? Yeah, I do. I know like 5 or 10 of them. Like, and I think that's one way. It's harder, if you're in a big city or a big urban center, to shop locally like that. It's going to take a little more effort on your part, but you can't trust the Made in America label at your grocery store anymore. You really can't.
Right.
And so that's just where my thought process went.
I'm a big advocate for farmers markets too. Like,
yeah,
if you're in communities where you have a farmers market, go frequent your farmers market all the time. Like, go buy your produce from your farmers market directly from the farm stand. Like,
Right.
it's much easier. They get more profit out of it, and you help your local farm, and you can meet them and meet your community and meet your neighbors and help build systems. So if you're, say, near a big city, you could help create a community farm, or use the tools or learnings from, maybe have like groups that do outreach to the local community farms that are outside of town to help you design a community farm in town, or help create a local center that can build a new farmers market, or add an additional farmers market to help support your local farmers. Like, encourage that in your local communities, and you'll start seeing people want to be part of the local communities.
yeah. I mean, that's what our farm was. It was a community supported agriculture based model, which is, for those that don't know, it's abbreviated to CSA, just because community supported agriculture is a jumble to say. So we had a CSA farm, which is essentially where people would buy a subscription at the beginning of the season, and that would guarantee them a certain number of weekly deliveries right directly from our farm. And what that does for the farmer is it gives them the ability to afford all of our inputs for the year up front. Because the traditional farming model is based on going and getting a big operating loan from the bank at the beginning of the year with interest, in the hopes that at the end of the year you've made enough to pay back that loan. So essentially a CSA is flipping that completely on its head, and our customers, our bank, at zero interest. and the promise is that you will then get your weekly subscription for however long they sign up. There's a lot of different terms and a lot of different programs that we offered, but yeah, I used to sell at 4 different farmers markets a week in the Madison and southern Wisconsin area, and it was a lot, man. It was like 100 hours a week that I was working, or more some weeks, but it was so fulfilling to me at that point in time in my life. Like I had just kind of gotten out of the military and post college, and just still sort of like didn't know who I was and didn't know what I wanted to do. And so I had this opportunity to go and volunteer on a farm that we were members of as a CSA member. And it took me like a week of volunteering there where I was just like, yeah, this is what I want to do. And got, very short period of time, we had built up a 140 member subscription CSA in the local Madison area. And then we started the farmers market with our local VA hospital, which was very rewarding, being able to feed veterans as they were coming in and out of the VA hospital. And so, yeah, go and support your local farmers market, get to know your farmer, go out and ask to volunteer on their farm. Excuse me, I'm still kind of getting over a little bit of illness here, but
it's all good.
This is also to a point where we can take like the model and move it to a parallel system. Is this has to start out first on the local level where people want to be part of these CSAs and want to be part of these community structures anyway. And then we shift them from community separate to the service that it is as part of the local government. And you ingrain that into law to replace the old structures. And then instead of separately paying for your farm subscription on like your farm or your dairy and other subscriptions that maybe you pay for, those are part of your taxes. Those are just built into the tax structure. Simple, no processing fees from the government. It's just going, the government is the compiling agency because the government doesn't need extra money for taxes to run this shit for the most part. Like most of this can be a computer service that says, boom, yeah, it's input, here it goes. We can build these societies where the people are driving the system and it rewards us for that. Like a direct loan at the beginning for Stephen. We'll keep using Stephen as the example here. Is like a direct loan to Stephen at the beginning of a year to buy all his equipment, to buy all his seed, to buy the allotted fertilizer that he needs, to buy or fix up his tractor, do a couple things that are required for the work. Okay. There's still some left over because in the budget it states here's a auxiliary fund that everybody is held in the tax base, and if someone needs it on a farm, boom, it goes into that system. That's just our money saying we want our food supported. Food infrastructure, and why one of the reasons we're talking about this right now in my mind is food safety and food infrastructure is one of the most important things a nation needs, and we've broken that, and we're breaking it even more with this war in Iran. And the closing of the Strait of Hormuz is we're breaking our food infrastructure services, and we're causing a national security emergency because we are hurting our own people, and we're hurting our own nation's ability to produce. Sorry, I'm playing with my gain. Let me know if it gets too much here.
What are you doing? Oh, your gain on your mic.
Yeah, I'm trying to play on the gain on my mic. It sounds really loud, I think.
It's okay. It sounds fine.
Oh, okay.
You mean the kids sound loud, or you? Or
I hear that. I don't know if anybody hears the kids in the background.
Yeah, we can hear them, but you can hear it. But you're louder, so it's not like they're drowning you out or anything.
Okay, are they drowning everybody else out? Is my concern.
I don't think so.
Okay.
We can
Let
see
me know in the chat too.
In the chat, yeah, what they hear.
If there's any issue on the sound, I'm playing around with my mic just a little bit. But like building back on that model, it's like we replace the systems we need. We affect the change that we need, and that's sort of where we're at right now in all of these discussions is anti-fascism, and it closes out one of the chapters too. is the discussion that anti-fascism is really just a reflection of the state of America and is the reflection of what America wants to be. Um, and as that increases in visibility, the more we reflect ourselves positively, and the more we can fight back against these movements. And why, like I said earlier, I still believe that unmasking works right now, and we're not at a state where unmasking would be ineffective.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Well,
We can still put costs on people for their radicalized views, maybe not as heavily as we used to 10 years ago or even 5 years ago, but still enough that a majority of people might wake up and go, oh, my neighbor's a fucking racist who hates me. That seems
right.
bad.
Well, right. Which
And maybe it'll just wake up people
Mhm.
that are disenfranchised or disaffected.
Right.
Again, for those who are in the audience, we are reading To Catch a Fascist by Christopher Matthias. In the middle. We're in the middle section, somewhere around part two, beginnings, mid part of part two, um,
Uh-oh.
and discussing pieces there, and earlier in the book. And so right now we're discussing different events that have happened. We opened up with the um, Mary Turner story about her being um, brutally murdered and lynched in the I think early 1920s, I believe it was.
Mhm. Yeah.
And I could be wrong. Don't quote me on that date.
Let me look
Um,
it up.
I,
It was
Oh, I'm bad.
Mary Turner, late 1800s.
late 1800s. I thought it was
I think.
let me see. When does let me see.
Oh,
Um,
1918 is when
yeah. Yeah.
Walter White. Um,
Yeah,
and yes,
1918.
about Mary Turner and her brutal murder, we have covered around um, some of the discussion points on the legalization efforts and the Overton window shifting of fascism and how the Klan didn't lose when it lost membership. It purposely lost membership because it didn't need it. It achieved the objective of getting things legalized. Um, and we've really been talking a lot after all of that on how we impact our local environments and how we actually make effective change to one, support ourselves, and how these actions have led to where we are in the country and in the nation and in the world, especially with the Iran war, the holy war that's going on that they're trying to start. Because that's what it is. They want to start a crusade and a holy war. We should not reference it to anything other than that.
Well, some of them do, these Christian nationalists, and they all have their own agendas, of course. I think Trump is
Yeah,
just a baboon who said,
I think
I want
I
to
think
do
Trump
this.
is more dangerous on that because he falls into his dad was Fred Trump was a member of the KKK.
Oh, yeah. Yeah. I mean,
I
he's,
think Donald Trump has always, under the surface, been the head of the KKK platform without anybody saying it. And once he came into the office,
yeah.
the first time the KKK was really excited, and this time they were even more excited.
Yeah.
And the legacy of the KKK, which is Patriot Front and other groups, is excited because they got what they wanted. They got their platform.
That's
and
right.
so now they're spreading eugenics.
Exactly. But I mean, Trump is he's just a self-motivated, he doesn't give a shit he is doing this for another distraction against the fact that he is all over the Epstein files, of course, but also because he can do it. In fact, that's what he said to the advisors. Apparently, he said, I want to do it. That was his final order. I want to, because like a baby, because I wanna, gimme, I wanna. That's because he can, and it's just disgusting. That's how he thinks about the lives of
You're
the
fine.
people
I got
that he's sending, and now he's fundraising off of that as well, which is disgusting. So we have crossed a lot of Rubicons in this country, and we have I don't know we're in big trouble. So and we're in there's so much that we're talking about here in just this conversation, like how do we rectify this and that, and what Stephen is talking about with the farms and everything too, that all and what Trump is doing, he might be forcing people to go to source things locally because they will have no other choice now. And the same thing with EVs that they have tried to stop progress on in this country. If we were in such danger against this oil rich nation that could shut down our energy supply so quickly, you think they would set us up for success by not rolling back all the electric vehicle progress that we were making, like unplugging the chargers on federal land and whatnot, and undoing all the green energy projects that were happening in the United States that would make us energy independent. Okay. This is what gets me fucking nuts. And I mean, going back to, we've talked about it on my show many times, going back to Reagan taking the solar panels off the White House. And, these Republicans have never set us up for success. And it's disgusting to me that, and now I see, a lot of MAGAs are waking up, they supposedly, because the gas prices are high. Well, good. Isn't that nice? But I'm so sorry that your morality prevented you from seeing what we were dealing with the minute he came down the escalator calling Mexicans rapists. Because any American who is, understands this grand experiment in liberal democracy recoiled from that, from as if from a hot flame, because he was using the same old fascist playbook of vilifying minority groups, lying about minority groups, targeting targeting minority groups. I mean, that's Trump. He never met any group of human beings he didn't want to divide. So he is a cancer. He is evil. And what was it? Warnock, Senator Warnock, after the State of the Union, he gave a great summary of it, what it was like to be in that room listening to it. He said there is a danger. It's like listening to a demon. He unleashes this division, and he just pours gasoline on the fire of hate wherever he goes. It's disgraceful. And that the other thing is too, what we're witnessing too with Iran. And of course, they're trying to, one good thing is that the American people aren't falling for it. Nobody wants to go to war in the Middle East. We're done. We're done with this bullshit, and we don't believe you that, Trump, there was no imminent threat. We know that. We had a deal with these people and that was working. And then to go to our European allies and try to shame them that they're not joining in. Right. But here's the thing, I'm glad they're not. But I don't know about you, but the American people don't want to be, because they're saying that, oh, well, maybe we'll rethink our alliances. Do you want to be part of, Saudi? You want our, like Russia, their allies are the Iranians, their allies are the North Koreans. Is that what we want to be as Americans? That's who we are. I thought we were the good guys, right? So, whatever. We have a reckoning.
I got over my good guy myth, my good guy narrative, like a long time ago.
Mm-hmm.
And when I was deployed, when I was deployed in 2005 to Solder City. My job was to help escort our brigade commander. I was the lead driver of a 3-truck team that escorted our brigade commander, highest ranking officer in Baghdad,
Mm-hmm.
to every single funeral that our unit took.
Oh, wow.
And so I attended over 60 funerals in the 11 months that I was there.
Mm.
And it was all IEDs. It was all the same roads that we were driving, where the the ones getting blown up and driving on the same roads. And when I came home, you know, of course we go on leave. One of the first missions that my platoon was given was to perform funeral duty down in Florida for, I don't know, 3 months. Because the Florida National Guard had gotten deployment orders, so they needed someone to fill in. So my platoon got the fucking orders, like, hey, we need some high speeds down in Florida. Oh, let's get all them forward observers. They know what they're doing. So we got tasked with doing it for 3 months. And I mean, you know, so this whole debacle that we're seeing with trying to fundraise off of these images coming out of, you know, dignified transfers, and I mean that really just hits home for guys like me.
So disgusting. Yeah.
I mean, you know, I don't even know how many troops in those 3 months, and not just active duty troops, but you know, older veterans from other generations too. But you know, I've done the 21 gun salute. I've done the white satin gloves and black beret and dress greens in the hot Florida sun while moms are crying, and you know, like. It just hits really home, and it just brings all that back front and center to a veteran like me.
Right.
And what does that actually mean? And someone like Donald Trump has no fucking idea what that means, how disrespectful he can be. You know, and I try not to be hyperbolic with some of the things that he does, but he really is a fucking disgusting person. At his core. And it's just so narcissistic when I observe his behavior. I can't. You know, there's just different types of people in this world, right? There's people that just need power. They need to have that dominance over others. And it's not who I am. It's not who I'm trying to like raise my kids to be. And I want to back up about, you know, energy independence. Like I definitely don't try to put myself out there as one of these like prepper, you know, hyper individualistic libertarian types like what we talked about earlier. But I do think that fascism is, you know, the corporation and the state merging as one, right? And so the more that I can reduce my reliance on the corporation, that's what I'm striving for. We grow like a lot of our own food right in our front yard. We save seeds. My partner Steph and I have got into breeding our own seeds, more so her, but I do a lot of the grunt work. But in 2020, when COVID hit, I don't know, it's something just really urgent inside of me was like, I gotta remove myself from this energy independence on this corporation that really doesn't give two shits about me. So I installed my own solar. I rented the equipment. I dug the fucking 7-foot deep footings, you know, and installed our own system. And I have literally had a credit on my bill every month since then.
There you go.
And I have been able, at that point in time, I was able to take advantage of the 22% federal tax credit on the system, which that was literally like, I think in his second term, that was maybe the very first thing that Trump did away with.
Yeah,
was the
no,
federal
totally.
tax credit
That's
for
what they did.
Individuals to install their own solar arrays. Like, it
it's
doesn't
like
get more clear what the objective
it's
is.
disgusting. Well, that's the power. The power of the government to tax is one of the things that they do to encourage certain types of behavior. So for him taking away these credits for EVs and for your own producing your own solar and all that, or energy, is just says everything of what we're dealing with here. And then he goes and attacks Iran, and when nobody, you know, everybody advised except for the maggots advised otherwise, everybody knew what was going to happen. And all prices are going to go up. Now they are going up. I see it myself in my daily life. I have to order cat food, prescription cat food for one of my cats, and you know, it's gone up like a lot by a lot.
I don't even think we've begun to see like the fertilizer issue really scares me.
Yes,
it really does.
We're not done.
That's going to be a year
you're
out.
So 100%, because by the time done, there's going to be, this is only the tip of the iceberg here. We have only yet begun to feel the pain, and some are going to feel it more than others. But I feel bad for all these farmers who voted for this. You voted for, not you, whoever. They voted for Trump like 78%. What the fuck is wrong with you? And then they're like, I want my Biden credits. Give me my Biden credits. But Yeah, well, that's how you say thanks. Why? What the fuck was wrong with you? Why are you voting for this monster who fucked you the first time? I
Yeah,
don't, you know.
the Inflation Reduction Act is like actually a huge farmer giveaway, in a lot of ways, in that it massively increased the NRCS budget to do conservation. Well,
Mhm.
conservation is really an agreement between the government and private landowners. Like that goes all the way back to Aldo Leopold's
Yeah,
land ethic. Is like we have to get these private landowners on board. The only way to do that is to pay them more than what they can make by doing
that's
other
right.
detrimental activities on their land. And I mean, I have one of my best friends who's also a Marine veteran works for, he's the local NRCS agent for the two counties that border me, and he's my fishing buddy. So when we're out there in the creek in our waders, we're sitting there talking
Mhm.
about politics with each other, and sometimes we are screaming at each other out there in the
Oh
street.
wow.
It's great. We love it. We both need it, but he talks about how like they have so much money, they don't even have enough personnel to give it all away.
Mm.
They really don't, and it's all going to farmers
Mhm.
to help them, and good efforts, but they're making it hand over fist, and these are all Biden policies.
Mm. Mm.
And he said
Mhm.
that when Trump came in, none of the actual policies changed. He just changed the name of the policies,
Yeah. Yeah.
right? To
That's what he
reflect
does.
that now he
Yeah.
can take credit for this program that he just renamed, but it's all the same nuts and bolts
Mhm.
that was done under Biden.
Mhm. Mhm. Yeah. Well, there was right. I mean, they just part of the clawback. We were talking about it on one of my shows months ago when they started with Elon Musk started to fuck over the government. Basically, he's destroyed our excuse me, our bureaucracy, which any functioning society needs a bureaucracy. We need people to pick up the phone when we have problems. We need an IRS. We need a Department of Veterans Affairs, Social Security, and it should be staffed with competent people, but that want to handle the problems of their fellow Americans, and they take oaths to the Constitution. These people, and people used to want those jobs as valuable jobs that you keep for lifetime because they're good jobs, and that's what they should be. But anyway, there were we talked about it. There was one town that was some people were committing unaliving themselves, and because of all the repercussions of these Trump policies, of them losing, of course, with the tariffs, losing their market to sell. I think they were soybean farmers or something, and yeah, he's putting these people out of business completely. So they were all.
Well, compounding the soybean farmer stuff too,
Mhm.
and like recent developments with soybean farmers is, guess what? Number one crop needs fertilizer
Oh
in the
well,
US
there
is
you go.
corn, and they're
Yeah,
not going to be able to grow corn because the Strait of Hormuz and 30% of the world's
there you go.
fertilizer isn't shipping right now. So farmers aren't going to be able to grow the corn that they
Wow.
need. Soybeans take less fertilizer, so they're easier to grow, but cows and some animals can't eat soybeans.
Right.
And now there's no market to fucking sell soybeans because China is buying from
Uh-huh.
Argentina because we
That's
gave
right.
Argentina $40 billion to rebuild their soybean industry instead of focusing on our
I
own
know.
soy.
I
Circle
don't.
of life
Yeah,
has come.
it's
This
disgusting.
snake eating its own head, its own
Yeah.
tail, is they've caught back up to the head. Like they're getting to the point where they're about to eat the back of their own fucking head.
And
And it's a
it's like
problem.
if you he has done so much damage to this country. You have to look at it through the lens that he's trying to kill this country. I can't imagine it being worse. Well, I'm sorry. Let me knock on wood or whatever. I don't want to say that. I don't want to put that into the universe because it can and will get worse with this fucking idiot. But it's everything that they've done to set us up for failure here, from Maha. Measles is back, and I mean it's only getting worse. There's fucking polio in New York now. So let me look this up. I mean, it's just like things we were progressing on, and now I just saw a stat. 78% of the world, of our European allies, have a negative feeling of the United States now. That it was the exact opposite. right? So this is what they have done to us, our reputation, everything from
Hmm.
soup to nuts. We're going in the wrong direction. And
Yeah.
I don't know. People have to wake up that, you know, it's stupid to be and this is what they do like, to get back to the book, to turn us against each other. And that's one of the things that when I was reading the book, thinking about how, just how stupid it is to hate other, just other people because they have darker pigment or whatever. There's some stupid difference without a, distinction without a difference that they focus on. Like, just leave people the fuck alone and live your life. And, we can have a nice little blip of time together. Like, you know what I mean? But,
Yeah. And I think with that, we're right at the
oh, shit.
little over our hour actually, which is totally fine because I'm glad these conversations go the way they do, natural and long sometimes. Um, However, I've got kids at home, so
Yes,
um,
I got
I
you.
I
gotta
couldn't. I
jump
couldn't
off.
tell. I
You
couldn't
couldn't
tell.
tell. This week has been,
Right?
next week is going to be even louder because it's spring break, so all the
Oh
kids are going to
boy,
be home.
spring break.
Yeah, so this will be fun. Yeah, and to respond to that final comment on our Substack chat is, oh, Putin absolutely loves this shit. Yeah, Putin seeded all of this. The
Mm-hmm.
USSR helped seed a lot of what we're currently seeing as they went from the Soviet Union to what they are now. They
Yep.
downgraded themselves on purpose to make themselves less threatening, and then they told us they would defeat us from within. And they have fostered the accelerationist and Groyper movements across this nation, the sovereign citizen, these Maha movements. Yes, Putin does love this shit.
Oh yeah.
He
Oh
does.
yeah.
Putin loves everything except for what we're saying. Donald Trump doesn't like what we're saying. What we're trying to do isn't really fighting against Donald Trump, isn't fighting against Putin themselves. It's fighting against the system of fascism,
Yep.
and that's what we're trying to stop, is fascism itself, so that the environment never can be created again where a Putin or a Trump would be able to get into power in the first place.
That's right.
And that's what we're trying to do. So thanks everyone for being with us. I'm going to switch us over here to allow all of us to promote ourselves and tell people where they can find our work and how they can support us. Hopefully it's on. Yep, good, perfect. Tara, I'm going to start with you. I'm going to switch it off the banner and
Oh,
backbone real
oh
quick.
well,
Is Tara,
thank you.
tell people how they can find you and support your work
Well,
and what you're doing.
what do that little QR code there, and you could subscribe to my Substack. And tonight we have a show at the YouTube channel, youtube.com/Seafood channel/Tarabuster. And yeah, so well, we're gonna have a good conversation tonight, as we have every Friday night and Tuesdays and Thursdays on the Political Voices Network, because I want to discuss the, what do we have on the board? That we're backsliding, our Democratic rating. We are backsliding. And I also have another story that we're going to talk about. I can't remember it though. I don't have it off the top of my. It's funny. It's a funny story where anyway, we'll come back. We'll talk about it later. So keeping it funny, keeping it real.
Good. Awesome. I'm excited. Have a great show tonight. Everyone, please subscribe to Tara and the Political Voices Network
Yeah.
to help grow more independent voices and left-leaning and progressive voices that are, or pro-democracy voices more so than anything,
Hmm.
that are actually fighting to keep America a democracy and not fascist and authoritarian bullshit. Next, we have my friend Stephen. Please promote yourself. I know you're newer on Substack still,
Yeah.
but you're not new to this space in terms of the work that's being done. So promote how people can help and support you.
Yeah. Well, right now it's, mostly, in the past, been on Facebook, and just interact with people that way through my comments and text based stuff. But I was having a conversation with some friends, and honestly my mom, even just this morning, about like, hey, I'm trying to like really figure out what sort of content, if I go that route, I want to put out.
Mm.
I don't necessarily just want to be another reactionary voice in the crowd. Not that there's anything wrong with that, but one thing I really am passionate about is cooking. I love to cook, and it's partly what got me into farming. and there's this really great picture of me that maybe I'll have here instead of this one at some point, of me stirring a big pot of spaghetti sauce that I was making. And so I was thinking a great name for my show would be Stirring the Pot with Steve, and it would
Oh,
just
that's a
basically
good
be
one.
like me cooking with my friends their favorite recipes while we talk
Right.
about current events and shit.
That's a good
I,
idea.
So
I love that.
Yeah.
That sounds
so
freaking
anyway,
awesome.
Cooking and
um,
politics, stirring the pot. You got it. That's a good one.
yeah,
That
so
fits right in with
I
all the
like it.
culture stuff we do here on either Banner and
Yeah.
Backbone or Sick of This Shit publications. Like,
I
dude,
like it.
what a fun idea.
yeah, so I gotta kind of collect my thoughts. And speaking of spring break, my wife is on spring break next week, so I'll probably be not available. We're going on a little excursion as a family
Okay.
together.
Uh-oh.
So
There's
trying
that
to
word again, excursion.
excursion, yeah, just a little one, just a little one. Anyway, I appreciate both of you a lot.
Thank
You
you.
guys
You
really
too.
make my day. So thank you.
Thank
Thanks for
you.
joining us, Stephen. I'm glad you were able to join today again. And everyone, please subscribe to both Tara and Stephen. And then when you're done subscribing to them, come subscribe to me at Sick of the Shit
Yes.
Publications. That's my other home, doing my masculinity discussions, intelligent masculinity. Stephen's been one of our recent guests. Had a really great interview with him. This week we talked to Wajahat Ali and Ken Harbaugh, both incredible interviews. Waj's interview is out. Ken's will be out later today. And yeah, just thanks everyone for participating in helping grow something that a manosphere that doesn't suck. And as we say on the show a lot, is just suck less.
Yes.
Which you can buy the water bottle. They are always in my show notes. And you can go to our shop link through any of the show notes or email. If you want to get anything from there for Sick of the Shit Publications. If you are a paid subscriber, you get 5% off if you go through the button on the email. And I'm trying to create a space that is open and a dialogue for chronic illness and masculinity, and a place where men can be proud of themselves and who they are and express masculinity in a way that's intelligent and showcase it for other men to be able to see what that type of content looks like and what those actions look like. So come join Sick of This Shit Publications if you're into that. Building a manosphere that doesn't suck.
There you go.
And finally, come support Banner and Backbone here, the network that's putting a lot of this together for us. It's my network. I'm one of the co-founders here, so I get to promote it as much as I want. Is just come help us. We're putting together a lot of tools. I've got some stuff going in the background for alternative content distribution platforms, how we can help support creators easily get their content on those types of distribution platforms without having to do anything other than maybe uploading a file to a Google Doc or a Google Drive and having their content go out on a space that is different than what we're used to, but one that impacts the AI sphere and the learning models and how information is taught to the system itself. Is we're trying to approach it from a different angle, from a back door that nobody really expects. So, hey, GitHub, hey, friends, if you can, go visit pages.broadbanner.com and just take a look. We've got a new site that's coming out that's going to have a whole bunch of content on it. It's going to be our background stream content, and I'm building an AI assistant agent for myself to help formatting so that nobody else has to do anything. All they have to do is hit the file and it formats for them. And so we're building tools like that to help other creators get their content out there in unexpected places too. So come join us here at Banner and Backbone. We'll be back next week. We might not. It sounds like we won't have Stephen with us for next week. But we will be back next week, at least Tara and I. Hopefully Chris will be back with us too for next week's Banner and Backbone's Anti-Fascist Book Club. We will be continuing our read through To Catch Fascists by Christopher Mathias. I will include a link for the book directly to the publisher. So if you want to buy through the publisher, there will be a link in our post show notes for you to be able to do that. Next week, we will probably introduce what book we will be going to after we're done this one, so that when we complete this conversation, everybody already has the next book and we're go. So thanks, y'all. Have a great
Thank you.
Go do something anti-fascist today, which means go hang out in your community, go be a positive influence, go spread something fun and spread joy. If you've got an instrument, go play an instrument in the park. Go make some new friends. Go be fascist. Go be social. Have a great day, y'all. Thanks, Stephen. Thanks, Tara.
See you
Everyone
soon.
in the audience, we'll see you next week.